Hey guys, so remember that period when the infamous Ahegao faces was all over the internet causing cringe and horniness alike? Remember the memes? The hoodies that grown-ass men would wear shamelessly parading the streets and giving anime fans a bad name. Yeah, remember that? I hope you do because we're about to share some light on this field. I'm about to hit you with some disturbing info, so sit tight or stand, squat, I don't know, you can do whatever and just enjoy the video. So Ahegao faces, rolled up eyes, tongue out like Clifford the big red dog, drooling with saliva, and boom, you're done. You're done. The face is complete. The face is a common on feature on hentai and doujin comics since the early 2000s. It was used by Asian porn actresses to depict a level of sexual pleasure they were getting from, doing the business. Now, before we dig deeper, I just want to say that the definition of Ahegao that I got on Wikipedia said this is a term used in Japanese pornography for an exaggerated facial expression of characters, usually women, during sex, typically with rolling or crossed eyes, protruding tongue, and slightly reddening face to show enjoyment or ecstasy. Now, I want you to take note of this important word, exaggerated. Now, just take note of that because we'll come back to that. We'll definitely come back to that. Right, so fast forward a few years and it becomes a big part of the otaku culture and the hentai community because of its popularity with a lot of people who found it, attractive and sexy, stuff like that. And his face has also made its way into normal mainstream anime shows where it is depicted in both sexual and non-sexual ways in the hopes of making the character look more attractive. It then became the face for intense, mind-blowing pleasure, which then leads to a whole new problem. It's the year 2014. Ahegao has crept into social media. People posting links for lewd manga with the drawings of a girl all sweaty doing the Ahegao with saliva dripping down her tongue like your neighbor's spit bowl. There were codes for this stuff everywhere, and with the growing popularity, it became trendy to know a thing or two about hentai and Ahegao faces, which then led to the creation of many memes and lewd jokes involving hentai. And then it became sort of cool to know where this female character was from, what, face, Ahegao face, you just know oh yeah, I know where this is from. You get, then out of nowhere, the degenerate hoodie was born. Everywhere, people started rocking the outfits. We got hoodies, caps, t-shirts, all covered and printed in Ahegao faces. It became a part of anime conventions where wearing such outfits seemed okay, but I'm glad it didn't last long though, because in 2020, the clothing was outright banned in conventions held in the US, as many Comic Cons said they were no longer going to allow such outfits to be paraded whenever they were holding such conventions. Now, despite all this, Ahegao has still gained a lot of popularity, especially with the challenges on TikTok trying to get the best face possible, and there goes humanity. This has opened the floodgates of more disaster and weirdness, as well as creating an army of hardcore simps. The trend has pushed the boundaries of straight up quirky into downright disgusting, and because of that, now we got girls drooling like Scooby-Doo when he says like a Scooby snack. And you know what, I don't really blame them for it. No, I don't. I blame the simps, the males that find this stuff attractive. They are the problem, and this brings me to the part that I really want to talk about, the part that made me do this video: the objectification of Asian girls. Here's a tweet that I found that is very interesting. It goes, I was repeatedly raped by my stepbrother. Why? Because I was Asian and liked the porn he watched. He asked me to make a silly face and showed me a picture of Ahegao and asked me to do it while performing sexual acts on him. Wow. Just wow. Now see the next one that I saw. I've also been bullied and harassed by men for not wanting to fulfill their hentai waifu dreams and do Ahegao while having sexual relations with them. Some even got angry and threatened me. These are just one of the many stories of Asian girls who get assaulted and are forced to do degraded things. Now remember the word I told you to take note of. That's right, exaggerated. The more people watch and jack off to these images, the more their brains get wired and believe it's normal and it's a normal thing done by girls. Hence the fetish of wanting to see Ahegao faces on real women, mostly the Asian ones. This has traumatized many women emotionally because many men now see them as submissive and obedient. He called me his yellow princess. He was a big anime fan. He watched hentai, lolicon, and child pornography. He discussed making me get a lolicon tattoo when I was old enough. This man groomed me and abused me until he went to prison. Now this is just straight up dehumanization because many of the Asian women are now viewed as weak, submissive, and obedient, willing to do anything to please the males. This is the ideology that Ahegao has pushed on subconsciously, because if you really check it, most thought is fed into most people through these kinds of images, and it warps the mind of the person who ends up committing such acts of violence towards women and believes that that is the way it should be, thinking that maybe and definitely she will get into the act with you, and then like that same crazy fantasy can be fulfilled. And because this content is created by Asian men, hence the characters are Asian, therefore many men seem to be attracted to Asian women, seeking to derive a certain height of pleasure even at the expense of the woman's happiness or well-being. Now, are the Asian community to blame for all of this, for allowing this art style to exist and even expand to other parts of the world despite knowing its harmful nature and its consequences? Before I give my answer, let me just read to you a tweet. It goes, "The fetishization and sexualization of Asian people is deep-rooted. I have experienced it my entire life, and I really do mean my whole life. As a child in school uniform, I was repeatedly sexualized. I feel that Asian schoolgirl look that is so popular." She also tweeted, "The increase in popularity of anime, manga, and hentai only lead to further sexualization of me as a minor. When I was 15, I began to be groomed by a pedophile. He was white and he was racist. He told me he would never have kids with non-white person to protect racial lines." Now with this, you can see that many Asian women weren't viewed as, humans. They were viewed more like sexual objects. They were just there because they wanted to nut, and there are certain fantasies that they wanted to fulfill, and they did. And once they are done, they are out of there. So I'd say it's a messy situation where the two sides are at fault. The over-sexualization of characters depicted in these shows and in these, videos have become so rampant that it's actually viewed like it's the normal thing, that's what the women do there. They view them as submissive and obedient, that they don't have a voice. And it seems as though their own society doesn't even care what happens. They might actually raise a few eyebrows, but then it doesn't go beyond that, because I haven't really seen any major topics surrounding this issue when I went online to research. It's mostly just like women airing out their struggles, their pains, and that's it. They just get that. There is nothing really going on that talks about the over sexualization of Asian women depicted in anime and in hentai.